Before you earned your first dollar, your brain had already decided how money works. Not through lessons, not through explanations, but through watching and feeling and remembering. Most adults think their money habits are logical. They believe every choice comes from planning or discipline or knowledge. But then something strange happens. You spend when you didn't plan to. You feel anxious without knowing why. You avoid looking at certain things. You feel guilt where there shouldn't be any. And it doesn't make sense because deep down you know you're reasonable. So the question is, why does money feel different from other decisions? Why does it trigger emotions so quickly? The answer is simple and a little uncomfortable. A lot of what feels like choice is actually memory. When you were young, your brain wasn't trying to understand money. It was trying to understand safety. It noticed what happened when money came up. The tone, the tension, the silence, the relief. It noticed what caused arguments, what caused stress, what made people relax. And without words, your brain created rules. Rules like money creates problems, money shouldn't be talked about, money equals safety, money disappears quickly. These weren't taught directly, they were absorbed. Because the brain learns patterns long before it learns logic, and once a pattern feels safe, the brain keeps it, even when it no longer fits your life. Think about everyday moments. You check something about money and your chest tightens slightly. Nothing bad happens, but the feeling is there. Or you buy something small, not because you need it, but because it feels comforting. Later, there's that mix of relief and regret. Or maybe you avoid certain conversations, not because you don't care, but because they feel heavy. You might even feel behind without knowing who you're comparing yourself to. These reactions don't feel dramatic, they feel normal. And that's why they're powerful, because they don't feel like beliefs, they feel like instincts. Most people think habits repeat because of weakness. That's not true. Habits repeat because they feel familiar. The brain prefers what it knows, even what it knows is uncomfortable. An old rule feels safer than an unknown one. So the same reactions play out again and again. Not because you choose them, but because you don't see them. You can't question something that feels like part of who you are, and when a belief stays invisible, it stays in control, quietly. Here's the interesting part. Change doesn't begin with force. It begins with noticing. The moment you see a reaction clearly, it slows down. You start to feel a small gap between what happens and how you respond. In that space, something new appears. Curiosity. You might wonder, where did this reaction come from? Is this a feeling or a fact? Does this belief still belong to me? There's no pressure to fix anything, no need to replace the rule. Just seeing it loosens its grip, because the brain can't run an old program the same way once you're watching it. Awareness doesn't shout, it gently interrupts. Your earliest money rules were never chosen. They were learned quietly during moments you don't clearly remember. That doesn't make them wrong, it makes them human. But what once helped you doesn't have to run your decisions forever. Noticing a belief doesn't mean rejecting it. It means stepping out of autopilot. And sometimes that small moment of awareness is enough. Enough to pause, enough to breathe, enough to respond differently. You didn't choose your first money rules, but the moment you see them, they stop choosing for you. And that awareness is where real change begins.